Hi guys, Craig here. Today's video is going to cover how I thin my craft paints and what I use as a thinner for that purpose. Now, this is not my recipe. I got it off of Model Tips, Tricks, and Tutorials. It was submitted by Scott Swinehart, so I just want to give credit where it's due. I try to do that as much as possible when I remember where I got things from. So this came from, like I said, the Model Tips, Tricks, and Tutorials Facebook page from Scott Swinehart. And the recipe calls for, I'm going to make an 8-ounce batch. So it's 3 parts distilled water. Okay, so that would be 6 ounces. It says 91% isopropyl alcohol. I do have it, but I also have the 70% that I've been using. It works just as good. So either one, 70% or 91%, I will be using the 70% for this batch. That will be 2 ounces. And then I think he mixed up a gallon and he used 5 to 7 drops of glycerin. I use about 5 or 6 in my 8-ounce batch. And this is for flow improving. It will help keep your tip dry, especially using these acrylics, the craft paints and stuff, because the tip tends to dry pretty quickly on them. So I'll be using 6 drops of this in my 8-ounce batch. You can see this is the Walmart brand. You get them at Walmart. You get any of these, Meijer, Walmart, wherever you shop. So I use this kind of a bottle. It has the tip here that you can regulate your flow with, how much you put in, and I keep it covered. Pretty neat little thing there. Any bottle like this will do. I'll unscrew it here. So I've already measured out 6 ounces of distilled water here. So we'll just pour that in carefully without spilling. Easier said than done with me. There's that. And now the alcohol. I use a little medicine cup I use for mixing all my paints with and everything. I've got a black mark here where the 1 ounce line is. So we'll fill it up to there twice. Get it back in view here. So there's 1. And 2. You don't have to be overly precise on these measurements. If you go a little over, a little under, no biggie. Err on the side of caution, go a little bit over maybe on the alcohol. Get that out of the way. And now for the glycerin. This is slippery stuff, guys. Okay, 6 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's all you need. It will really help the flow of your airbrush, keep the tip from drying. Put the cap back on. Make sure you cover that. And just give it a little shake to mix things up a little bit. And there's your thinner. I use it for my craft paints, all my metallics and whatnot, Apple Barrel, Deco Art, Folk Art, Anita's, Delta Ceramic Coat, all those. And I use it for the Tamiya acrylics. There's a gunmetal. I use it for those too. I don't airbrush those too much, but I do. And even these little bottles of Testors acrylics. It works great thinning these. Here, I'll talk about the ratio in a little bit. Viejo, I've also used it for Viejo. Createx. I've actually found that it works for Createx. I use it mostly for my clear, but it will work for Createx as well. I normally recommend only using Createx brand thinners and stuff like that for their paints, but I have started using this for them as well. Much cheaper than buying, you know, the reducer, but if you feel more comfortable using their products, definitely should. I try not to tell anybody not to use their products, but you know, I have used it. It does work, so I can confidently say that. Alrighty, that's that on mixing the homebrew thinner that I use. I'll be right back and I'll show you how I actually thin the craft paints using this thinner. Okay, for the second step, it'll be mixing the paint up. I have these medicine cups that I get from Amazon. There's 100 of them in here for like $4. I use coffee stirrers, coffee sticks. I usually cut them in half. You don't need the whole stick for that little cup. I usually cut them in half. And you want to make sure you get these medicine cups with the smooth bottoms. There are some that have little plastic pieces sticking out on the bottom for whatever reason, and when you hit those when you're stirring your paint, it just splats it all over the place. This is a nice and smooth, even though I do sometimes splash it on myself or on my mat, as you can see. But these are the best for it. I've already measured out 2.5 cc's and 5 cc's, which this will be with the paint, and this will be a 50-50 mix of the thinner. I usually go more than that, but I almost always start at 50-50. I've already mixed the paint up, so I'll go ahead and drip it in. Shuttle Art Teal. It's pretty thick. Some of it's a little thinner, some of it's a little thicker. You just never know what you're going to get. That's why you can see it's not laying down. Some of the other paints I have spreads out and is a lot easier to see. But it's about as close as I think I'm going to get because it won't spread out. And you just add your thinner. You get it to about that line there. You can barely see. So there's your 50-50 mix. I'll get this out of here. I broke that pretty quickly. And you just mix it up. Now I'm mixing this up to do a spoon test. I'll show you how I spray it after this part on some spoons. So I have a bunch of these colors that I wanted to test, and I figured I'd show you all what the colors look like. I have a silver, a steel gunmetal base, and a metallic black base that I'm going to use to show you how your base coat changes your actual color here. So I'll do that when I get done. But yeah, this is going to take a lot more thinner. You're probably going to be looking at, with this one, probably 75% thinner to 25% paint. Usually I go about 60 to 65% thinner to paint. But I always start at 50-50 just to be safe. You can see it's still pretty thick. I do also have the Badger Airbrush paint stirrer that I use. Runs on batteries. Mixes it pretty good. I use that at the very end to get a final good mix here. Still not a consistency that you want. I need to thin it a little bit more than some of you guys would with your airbrushes. One of these days I'm going to invest in an Iwata or a Badger, but for now this works pretty good. Where am I at here? I am right at 7.5. And I think that's a pretty good spot there. Maybe a couple more drops. No exact science to this. Every airbrush is different. Probably even the same brands will probably give you a little bit of difference, and your preference. Sure, they like to shoot it thinner or thicker, but this looks like a pretty good spot for mine. So I'll leave it there and I'll get things set up, and I'll shoot a few spoons and show you what this color looks like and how this stuff sprays. Okay, so I mixed up quite a bit of this, a lot more than I need, but that was just for demonstrative purposes. I'll get it poured into my airbrush here. This is my Got Hobby airbrush. It's got the quick disconnect, cup and everything. It's not bad, not the best thing out there, but not bad. I've got some pretty good paint jobs out of it, so can't complain. Don't need that much in there to paint 3 spoons. Try not to bump the camera so much. Plug in my compressor. I have a master air compressor, and I got the airbrush with it for 160 bucks. Once again, Amazon has them. It has a built-in moisture trap, but I only spray water-based acrylics with this, so I don't know that the moisture trap is important or anything like that, but it does have one built in. And I spray it, has a dial on it. I spray it at right around 22 pounds, 22 to 24 pounds of pressure. Okay, I have my silver, my steel or gunmetal, and my metallic black, and I'll do one at a time. I have these little clips here from my Tamiya paint stand, so let me turn on my booth. And hopefully you can hear me over the sound of the booth and the fan and when the compressor kicks on. Test sprays here, and you want to go light to start with these. Yeah, that's good. Set that down. These things dry pretty fast within a couple minutes. It's dry, ready for a second coat. Craft paint, you want to start with light coats. It's the best way that I've found. I will say I am in no way an expert airbrusher. I'm still probably a novice, so screw that up a little bit more. This isn't necessarily how to show you how to airbrush, it's just showing you how I do my craft paints. And the cool thing with these dual action airbrushes, I also have a Pache H single action, but with the dual action, you just push down without pulling back, you get some airflow, and that helps dry what you're working on. So these craft paints dry pretty quickly. In fact, that's pretty much already dry. Ready for your second coat. galvanized tin, actually, is what it is. Anita's galvanized tin. Really sharp color. And then I use Deco-Art Obsidian Extreme Sheen. It's the metallic black that I'm using. Okay, now for the third coat, I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the third coat. This is exactly how I paint my cars too. A couple of light coats, and I go probably closer to a medium coat. Just go a little bit slower. Okay, another couple minutes to dry, and it's ready for coat number 4. Another medium coat. Really, really nice. And the obsidian. Pretty sharp color. I'll spray one last heavier coat, and then I'll take you over to show you the final results. So, okay, and after a couple minutes, it's pretty much dry again, ready for the final coat. I'm going to go a little heavier on this one for the final coat. For the tin. Just run your airbrush over it a little bit slower for your heavier coat. What a nice color. And now over the obsidian. Okay, that's that. Now to clean the acrylics out of my airbrush, I just take it, the bathroom's right next to me here. I just take it in the bathroom, run under hot water, mostly clean the cup out. Then I just use the thinner, rinse it out real good. I use a rag or a paper towel to help clean it out. And real stubborn, I'll use the alcohol. If I'm switching colors, I'll just give it a good rinse, good clean, and spray it out with the thinner again, spray it out real good, and switch to the color. When I'm done for the day, I break the airbrush apart, use my cleaning tools, and clean it up real good. But it cleans up easy. There's no odor to this whatsoever, and really simple. These acrylics are awesome to use. So I'll get everything switched back around and I'll show you these colors without the clear, without any clear on them. So hold on for that. Okay, so that's pretty much a start to finish, step by step of how I do my craft paints, how I make my thinner and mix the paints up in my little cups here to how I spray them through my airbrush. And you see the finished results. Again, these have no clear on them whatsoever. Hopefully that helps anybody out there. And thanks for watching. Stumpy Grump Scale Speed Shop on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.